look at it from dealing with dealer groups. You have a conversation with dealer group that's generating, I don't know, let's call it over 10,000 leads a month. And, they're okay with leakage. They're okay with 7% leaking through the pipes that aren't getting a response. Well, would you take that 7% right now? You probably would, right?
Well, actually, I think right now I would take every single thing that I possibly could.
Exactly. So, with that kind of and again, I go through these training. I sit through a ton of trainings with OEM clients where we're going to dealership, and there's still this mentality of it's an e-lead. I don't know, like my customers are going to come back to me, and I don't know if I have time to respond to an e-lead. And you're kind of just sitting there, and I'm like, okay, you guys are like a premium brand, and like somebody's asking about a $120,000 car, and you might get back to them, and you know what, you'll suggest for them to come into the dealership when you're available next week. It's not how it works. That's not how the consumer works.
I think
right.
The e lead is actually probably going to be the new normal lead. I mean, at least that's my thought and opinion. I mean, I think it's always kind of been the case. I mean, I don't know why dealerships haven't embraced that enough to understand that they get probably more e-leads than they actually get physical traffic walking into their dealership. Absolutely. But I mean, moving forward, if it wasn't obvious before, it's going to be incredibly obvious now. And Dan, actually, I think that's a good segue kind of into what you think that new norm is going to look like. Do you believe that the new norm is going to be e-leads over floor traffic, which in the past it wasn't the case? It was always floor traffic was more important than e-leads.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way for any business right now to be either surviving or thriving without digital being the number one foundation of their strategy. It's not just an option anymore. And I think, like you guys were saying before, the dealers that have already done this, they're like, you know what? Yeah, we got to make some changes, but we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
The dealers that haven't been doing this, respectfully, it's probably not so much a new world as it is just a catalyst, the fire that's lit under our ass that, okay, now is the time. Now is the time. Because if there's one thing that I always truly believe, it's that you look at the past to predict the future. And
totally,
when we look at recessions and periods of economic discord before, you can always kind of separate all the different businesses into a couple different buckets. Just like poker, we got our folders, we got our holders, we got our bettors, right? And let's take
rest in peace, Kenny G.
Yeah, no kidding. I know that. I was going to ask, was that like, was that timing perfectly? Like, hey, Kenny G, cheers to you.
Sorry to interrupt, Danny.
No, not at all. It's good stuff. But I mean, I think every dealer out here knows exactly what we're talking about when we say the folders, the holders, and the bettors. And even then, we got to take the bettors and let's separate it into, some nice conservative reactive bets, and let's separate it into some big bets. And I think what we're seeing, at least from what I'm seeing from my vantage point across the industry, is a ton of creativity coming from dealers on what these bets look like. Absolutely. And anyone who's holding or folding, you might be holding or folding for another couple months, and then we start to go to the small bet and then the big bet, because what I'm seeing is it's the same sales process. It's, we talked about Glenn Ross. It was the same sales process back then: attention, interest, decision, action. Now we got the same exact sales process happening. It's just happening in a different place. It's happening digital. It's happening on their mobile phones. It's happening on your website. You're getting compared to how their last Amazon buying experience was, not the dealership physically down the road anymore, right? And so, we come back to some other old school stuff. Winston Churchill, strategy versus tactics. I don't know that the strategy of digital is changing. I know that the tactics of digital are changing right now. And if every single dealer is not pivoting to cell phone based strategies, video-based strategies, either pre-recorded or live video, e-lead capture, not just, your grandmother's leads from 5 years ago, super leads that are going to actually allow you to move that customer from, number one, trust, And then on to the next subject, trade. And then on to the next subject, credit. And then on to the next subject, payments. And on to the next subject, insurance. And on to the next subject, test drive. We need to be prepared to move that customer along that digital sales process sitting from home now. And unless your sales reps are set up to be able to conduct a transaction in their digital dealership,